Okay, so this episode picks up with Ji Won and Ji Hyuk still having their romantic moment of that kiss. During the kiss, it seems like Ji Hyuk is thinking back to some of the things that Ji Won mentioned about being on solid land and how she felt alone when her father died. We also see, the accident that Ji Hyuk has, as well as his funeral. And it seems because he feels like he's going to die in 10 years, he doesn't want to pursue the relationship because he doesn't want to hurt Ji-won in the future. He just wants her to be happy, so he pushes her away. He kind of, guides her to the front door and closes it, and you can see that she's, really upset about this. You can see the visible emotion on her face. So it's the next day. Ji-won goes into work and she's surprised to see that Ji-hyuk is not at his desk, but she goes on about her day as normal. And we see Mr. Kim being the ass that he is, trying to make himself seem like he was the better manager by bringing out all the things that Miss Yang is doing wrong. And it's like, dude, you didn't even do your job when you was the manager. So what right do you have to pass judgment on how she's doing her job, which is clearly better than how you was performing as a manager? Yoon, Ji-won and Mrs. Yang, they're in the break room and they're discussing it, saying about how when he was the manager, they barely saw him doing anything. Like, I don't know why he thought that he was going to have any people actually respect him. So Mrs. Yang and Ji-won are leaving the break room, and Ji-won tries to talk to Miss Yang and say that basically, like, why don't you ask your parents to help? Like, it's clear you're doing a lot, even with your husband being at home. He's not really helping. And she tries to tell her, like, you need to care about your health. She sees the resemblance to how she used to be treated and what she used to do for Min Hwan in, the old past. So she tries to tell her as well that, bad people won't appreciate your consideration and they do take advantage of that. Like, there is limit. So do you want to ask Mrs. Yang, like, is Ji Hyuk not coming into work today? And that's when she finds out that he took the day off because he's sick and possibly has a cold. So when she gets home, she decides to start making soup, which she then takes to Ji Hyuk. And you can see that she's really considerate. Like, she flashes back to when she used to do this for Min Hwan and his ungrateful reaction about it when she's trying to look after him.
자,
야, 넌 내가 됐다는데 굳이 그렇게 죽을 왜 끓이는 거야? 야, 그거 날 위한 거 아니다. 다 네 자기 만족이야. 죽 싫다니까 진짜.
그래도 한 입만 더 먹자.
죽겠네 진짜.
So Ji-won makes her way to Ji Hyuk's apartment after she has made him the porridge. She does knock on the door, but he doesn't answer, and she hears the cat, meowing. So she uses the code that he told her previously and opens up the door and sees that he's semi-collapsed in the front room. Like, at least he's sitting against the chair. He did say that a doctor came by and that they've checked him, but obviously my guy's not 100%. He also seems to be just a little delirious because he seems to be going back to when they first met, and Ji-won's mentioning about how it's rocky and how she wants to be on land. And, we can see from previous scenes that he has mentioned it before to her, but I guess because she was drunk at the time, it didn't quite register because she didn't even remember that it was him. But after hearing all of this, she realizes that this is the guy that she met while she was drunk, and she's shocked. Like, she's a little bit embarrassed that she didn't remember. But then we go back and we see that Yoon is in the restaurant that Eunho works at. So she says that, she's got some concert tickets. She invites him. She doesn't invite him. She tries to give it to him to invite Ji-won out, but then she finds out that, Ji-won basically friend-zoned him. So, she feels sorry, but goes on about her day. And then we see now that Ji Hyuk is waking up. It's the next morning, and he wakes up to see that Ji-won is in his bed because she must have dropped asleep when she was there taking care of him. You can see that she's got the cloth. So she's a bit shocked, so she has to get to work. But then he wakes up and tries to pull her, and he doesn't remember any of what's happened. She asks like what, you don't remember? She makes it seem a little bit like they hooked up. We know they didn't, but that's what it makes it seem like when she's asking like, you don't remember what happened last night? That's what you say to drunk people or people that were drunk and maybe done a little hookup thing on that night. So Ji-won apologizes for not remembering that it was Ji Hyuk that she had met that night, who she was, having this conversation with. But they go into work, they go in separate entrances. She leaves the car early. She goes in the main, he goes in, through the car park. They meet in the lift. You can see there's like a little bit of chemistry. But when they're in the office, Min Hyuk has given her the evil eyes from his new desk and follows her out and demands to talk to her. But you can tell she's not interested. Like, dude, why are you forcing it? It's not worth it.
내가 헤어지자고 한 건 우리 사이가 예전 같지 않다고 느껴서야. 남들이 부러워하는 연애를 하고 싶어.
야, 씨. 대체 어디서부터 잘못된 거야, 이거?
So Min Hwan's pissed and he's throwing a temper tantrum in the office supply area, but like no one cares about your feelings. And we see that he's having Soo Min meet his mum. I'm guessing he's already told his mum that she's pregnant and that they're looking to get married. But because he knows that she went to basically a no-name college, he lies and said that she went to the same college as Ji Won because he knows his mum wouldn't accept anything less than that. So Sumin's a little bit shocked at that at first, but being a pathological lie that she is, she runs with it and then goes on and makes like a whole story about how her mum adores Min Hwan. He's never met this chick. And how, her dad passed. No, she's just creating a whole fake backstory. It's like there's no need. As much as the mum moans, she will still accept you because you're pregnant with the son's kid. Like, come on.
응?
한국대? 왜 그런 거짓말을 해?
널 위해서 한 말이잖아. 강지원 한국대 나왔는데 난 어디 지방에 듣도 보도 못한 대학교 나왔다 그러면 우리 어머니가 퍽 더 좋아하시겠다?
새 출발하자며. 왜 그런 거짓말을 하니?
거짓말? 너네 어머니가 다 예뻐해? 나 만난 적도 없는데 어떻게 날 예뻐해? 그러니까 우리 이런 걸로 예민해지지 말자, 어? 좋은 게 좋은 거라고 좋게, 어?
So Ji-won and Ji-hyuk are going out for a date and they're discussing the fact that Min Hwan and Soo-min have booked the wedding hall and they don't believe that they have any intention of telling the company. So it flashes back to Mrs. Yang and her family where her parents are basically telling her husband that you don't do nothing at home. You're not looking after the child. My daughter's doing everything. You're coming to work at the restaurant. Like, no questions asked. Like, don't backchat. This is what's going on. So we go back now and we see that Ji-won and Ji-hyuk are on a date and they happen to go to the restaurant or, at least a restaurant similar to where they had, you might as well call it their first date. Because when she came back and, they had the incident with the kettle where he got burned and he says that, you can take me for some food. That's the place that they went to. So it's a good memory for them both. But they've had the food. She tells him about how he's probably eating it wrong. And then they take a nice little romantic stroll on the beach and you can see the sunset behind them. It's a really nice date that they're going on. Min Hwan never did nothing like that for her at all, their whole entire relationship. Anyway, we go back to work and Mr. Kim is, being his old annoying self and sitting in a manager's chair like he is the manager still.
김 대리. 기획안은 왜 제출 안 해?
아니 그 내일까지 제출하려. 너 지금 나한테 뭐라 그랬어?
김 대리는 아이디어도 별론데 성실하지도 않으면 좀 곤란하지. 아, 걱정 마. 메롱하진 않아. 그냥 좀 별로지.
미친 거야? 너 지금 뭐 하는 거야?
그나저나 누구보다 위계질서 잘 알고 사회생활 잘하는 사람이 이제 과장도 아닌데 여기 앉는 거 안 불편한가 봐?
I love how Miss Yang just puts him in his place. Like, at first he was responding, like, automatically, and then he clocked himself, and then it's the way he tries to ask, like, what do you mean? Like, but you think you're out of place? Like, no, dude, you're the one out of place. What she said was totally right, and you kind of deserve being talked to like that in the office. And then you got Min Hwan that's gone up to Mr. Kim and acting like, you know, they're friends when clearly you don't even care about the guy. And then it seems now everyone's at Mrs. Yang's family restaurant celebrating the fact that she's been promoted to manager, and her parents are so proud. They bring out the best meat that they have available. Everyone's celebrating and winding each other up. You can see Ji Won and Ji Hyuk share like a little moment while no one's paying them much attention.
정아. 왜?
Mr. Lee has turned up at the restaurant and you can see that basically Mrs. Yang's husband is cheating on her. Obviously, he didn't know that was her husband at the time until he's gone there and he's been introduced to everybody. And then he goes out of the restaurant all frustrated, and him and Min Hwan have like a shared cheaters moment where they're getting frustrated. But it's like, well, okay. So now we're going to the wedding planning for Soo Min and Min Hwan, and the mom's basically taken over everything. She's picked the dress. She's told her where, you know, where they can go on their honeymoon because she's pregnant. She can't fly out. She's picked the invitations. Soo Min is not happy, so she does her own invitation and sends it by text to Ji Won. Ji Won sends it to Ji Hyuk, who wastes no time in sending it to HR, who just spreads it across to everybody. And then you got Min Hwan getting annoyed and saying about, why is my an announcement being made at, you know, at work? And they say that, you know, announcements are given so that you can get monetary gifts. Like, are you basically trying to say you didn't announce it? Like, Mr. Lee tries to act like he's shocked. We both know that Mr. Lee knows that it was Ji Hyuk because he mentions it in the lift to Ji Hyuk, saying that you don't seem like the type to meddle.
웃고 있네.
한 번도 본 적 없는 얼굴이라 뭉클해지던데요.
So Mr. Lee presents Ji Hyuk's grandfather with pictures showing Ji Hyuk and Ji Won on their dates and how they've been dealing with each other. And he even says like he sees Ji Hyuk in a new light. Like, I believe Ji Hyuk was never like this expressionable before. But, you know, what can we do? And then we see that Ji Won and Ji Hyuk are having like a little moment. They're sat on the couch, they're talking. He's, you know, touching the heart on his chest. The Min Hwan comes home and he is vexed at Soo Min for sending the invitation into work. His mum gets involved and tells him that he needs to calm down because Soo Min's pregnant. And she takes her out of the room and tells her, you know, sit in here, listen to this music. It's good for the baby's brain development. And then we flash back to Ji Won and Ji Hyuk. Like, she's taken Ji Hyuk to her father's grave to introduce him. And you see that they're doing couple stuff now. Like, they're lying down on the couch, they've been eating, they've been watching TV together. They're at work, they did a nice little pass where, we'll just grab each other's hands nicely. Anyway, it comes to the day of Soo Min and Min Hwan's wedding. So Ji Hyuk takes this time to present her with the necklace that he did purchase when he was on his flight back from Japan. She puts it on, and you can see on the calendar she's got it signed as D-Day, which is obviously the day that the wedding is occurring. So Soo Min's asking dumb questions like, does my belly look like it's sticking out like she's been pregnant for all that long? Like, or at all? The mom's like, no, don't worry about that. And then you got fake mom turn up at the wedding. She gets introduced to Soo Min. And Sumin's asking why it's taking her so long. You're supposed to be here early. So Min Hwan and his best friend are standing outside, greeting the guests for their wedding. And Ji Won and Ji Hyuk arrive. So Ji Hyuk goes to the side, and Ji Won approaches Min Hwan, and she gives him a letter and tells him, like, I think you should keep this to yourself. He's probably thinking that it's money or something. So his friend asks, like, is that your ex-girlfriend? Because he's surprised by the new look. Because I'm guessing, like, he was never told that she's had a makeover. And then when Min Hwan looks at the letter, he finds out he's being sued because he owes money.
왜 이렇게 늦었어? 안 오는 줄 알았잖아.
I don't know why she's asking a dumb thing, because if it wasn't for the fact that Ji Won wanted revenge, like, why would she be at your wedding? But then we see, like, little flashes between Ji Won's wedding and Sumin's, and you can see the parallels of how they're the same but different at the same time, obviously, because the bride's different. But, you've got Sumin asking to take a picture with Ji Won, and she's not interested. She wants to give her a little bit of advice.
축하해. 내가 버린 쓰레기. 알뜰살뜰 좋은 거. 이거 박민환이 사준 거야. 그러니까 필요할 때 쓰든가 팔든가 마음대로 해.
So Sumin is in denial. She doesn't feel like Ji Won gave up Min Hwan for her. She still believes she stole this guy like he's some sort of trophy or anyone to really be proud to call your guy. But she walks down the aisle. She pretends to put on a brave face like she's happy to be there. And you got Ji Won and Ji Hyuk sitting there happy that this plan is coming into fruition, that they're getting married. And then Hee-yoon says that Sumin doesn't look like the mum at all. And then even she has to ask, like, was she hired?
수미야, 내 왔다. 부케 누가 받노? 내가 받아줄까? 지원이가 암마 네 반쪽이라 해도 친구 남자친구 뺏어 결혼하는데 양심이 있지 어째 부케까지 받으라 하겠노?
So the three women that were bullying Ji Won when she was in high school turns up at the wedding. And Min Hwan asks, like, who else did you send the invite to? Like, even a mum doesn't seem to be impressed, but it would be because of what they're coming out with. Because until they finish saying about the left nose, right nose, and the eyeballs and the nose, like, you would think they were talking about something else. The mum gets annoyed and starts trying to chase them around on the stage, but obviously that's not going to do much. And then Ji Won and Ji Hyuk are leaving the wedding, and Eunho's just turned up, but he decides to go out for a meal with Ian. And then we see Mrs. Yang and Mr. Lee in the storage area, and that's when she lets him know that she's just found out that she's got cancer. So Ji Won has headed back home with Ji Hyuk, and as they are walking up, they are approached by Yura, who says that she is his fiance and that she didn't know that he broke off the wedding because he had a woman. She makes it sound like they're still together and that he's cheating on her with Ji Won, which we know isn't actually the case. But this is where the episode ends. And guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.